Hey guys, so as you can tell by the title, this build is crazy. I have been so excited to show you guys this. I've been working on it since January with CosmicX Velvet. I believe it was last year. I hired him to build one of my houses and then we ended up becoming pretty good friends and acquaintances, and he ended up helping me with one of my first TikTok hacks videos because I wasn't too familiar with realistic building since at that time is when I just came back to YouTube, so everything was pretty new to me. So he showed me a bunch of tips and tricks, and he's just been in a few of my judging builds houses too. He's a wonderful builder. I would definitely follow him, but a few months ago he DM'd me and he asked if I wanted to do a build collab with him, and of course I have to say yes. I love his builds, so it would be amazing to work with him. So we started this project together, and let me tell you, it took such a long time, and I want to say thank you to Cosmic if you're watching this for being so patient with me. So I want to show you guys the build inspiration pictures that we used, because as you watch this video you'll see how pretty accurate we got most of these pictures to the build. So we wanted a white Mediterranean style house surrounded by this big pool and then stones leading up to it. I will be talking about certain things in the build as the video goes. It'll be bits and pieces. Before I get into the main topic of this video or commentary, because I kind of planned it out a little bit, I had a question that I was going to answer, but I want to tell you about when I went to Canada to go visit Annex and Isaac. Dude, the border patrol there were so mean. I was driving to Canada with my friend. If you've never crossed a border before, when you get to this border, they ask you questions, things such as where are you going, how long are you staying for, just, you know, questions to see what you're doing in the other country. On the way there, they were like, are you meeting anyone? I was like, yeah, I'm meeting my two friends. They live in Toronto. And then she asked, how do you know them? And I said, I work with them. And she was like, what's your job? And I was like, I'm a YouTuber. This lady was fine. And then on the way back, when we were leaving Canada, we went through the border again, but this time it was the American officers. And this guy, he asked, what do you do for work? And I was kind of confused because they never asked this question. So I'm assuming they were looking for someone. And I said YouTuber. And he was so mean. He was like, what does that mean? I told him I make videos online. And he was just like, what does that mean? This is the one thing that triggers me about being a YouTuber. Because let me tell you, this job is the most amazing thing in the world. I love being a YouTuber so much. It just has so many benefits. But people always undermine what you do. They always say stuff to you in such a rude, derogatory way. This guy, I felt so belittled and like he was talking down to me because he just didn't understand my job. He was just like, what does that mean? And he was just, I felt so insulted. So I told him I make videos on Roblox, and he's like, oh yeah, my little niece plays that. And he said it in a way, not like where he was saying like, oh that's cool, my niece plays it, but in a way where he was like insulting me. It was kind of like in a, isn't that a little kid's game? No girl, everybody plays Roblox. This is a universal game. So I felt so insulted, but you can't talk back to them because it's border patrol. You have to be calm and nice, otherwise they'll literally take you and won't let you into the other country. So after this happened, my friend, she was so mad for me, like she was insulted for me, and he asked her, what do you do for a job? And then she's like, I work at Chipotle. And then she's so sassy, so she said it with an attitude, and I was like, oh gosh, we're gonna get in trouble. But he didn't say anything. But I was just like, dude, how do you not know what a YouTuber is? I just felt so violated. Like, don't make fun of my job. I love being a YouTuber. Please respect it. I think he was just in a bad mood or something, because he was just so mean, and it was rush hour, so maybe he just like wasn't in the mood, but I felt very insulted. But anyway, the beach was really fun. The two roaches were whipping seaweed at me. We were playing football and volleyball in the water, and oh my god, it was so funny. Like, we were whipping the balls at each other, and then they would take the seaweed and stick it on the ball and then throw it at you. Annex was trying to tan his feet instead of his whole body, so he put a towel over his entire body besides his feet to even out his tan. I was just like, girl, what are you doing? We went to Subway after too. If you watched the last video, that's what they were referencing when we were talking about going to Subway. And because everything's in Canadian, it's cheaper in US because of the conversion. If you didn't know, US money is worth more in Canadian. I don't remember the conversion, but it was just worth more, so the food was cheaper there for me. I was dissing them. I was like, oh yeah, my meal's cheaper than you. Cosmic laid out this pool design. I basically helped put down some plants because that's all I'm good for right now, dude. I'm learning. He's basically teaching me all the ways to build. So he was showing me how to use the decal plants and how to put them together to make it look complete, you know? So I was just over here making random furniture concepts because I did not want to mess with the art we have over here. The value's already 265K, which is kind of scary. Also, look how many decals we put down. A whole wall. Okay, dudes, another update. I made this beautiful stone path on the water to walk into this beautiful mansion. And then I made this pool tile design to match the Mediterranean exterior we have over here. Now, looking at the inspo pic, this is pretty exact. At least I would say so. So if you guys didn't know, I've really never dyed my hair before. So a super long time ago, literally January when I also started this build, I was always on Pinterest looking for hair inspo just because I've always wanted to change it up a little bit, but it's scary to change it up because I don't know, it's just, you're risking your hair. And let me tell you, I saw this really, really pretty picture. I was like, you know what? And I think I mentioned it in an old video. I was like, you know what? I really want to do it. I'm going to do it. So this was about last week. I asked my hairdresser, I was like, hey, can you do this for me? And she was like, yeah, sure. After thinking about it for 7 months, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a cute summer summer hairstyle. So I went to the salon and I was so excited because, you know, this is like the first time I've done a change with my hair. So I showed her the inspiration picture and she's like, oh, that's super easy. It's 3 different colors. We could do that. The hair I was doing, which I'll put a picture on the screen, it was dark hair on the top and then very subtle highlights on the bottom. And I was like, okay, I'm so excited. Like, this is gonna look so good. She was like, okay, I'm gonna start bleaching your hair. And I was like, uh-oh, bleaching my hair. I understood there was highlights on the bottom that needed to be bleached, but then she started doing it on the top of my head and I was like, oh god, this is not looking good. Side note about what you're seeing, this is me manually placing structurals to do the roof so it's got this detailed design. This took so long and costed so much money, so guys, please appreciate my art. This was a lot of pink collar work. And then she was like, oh, I'm gonna do money pieces in your hair. Do you want that? And I was like, oh, sure, just do whatever you think is best. Oh god, that was the people pleaser in me. I was like, just do whatever you think is best. And she's like, I'm bleaching parts of your hair and we're gonna do thick pieces on the top. And I was just kind of confused. I was like, what is she doing? I don't think this looks like the picture, but I couldn't see, right? Because there was no mirror in front of me. And then she was like, I'm gonna show you at the end. I was like, okay, I have to wait till the end to see what this is gonna look like. So she keeps dyeing my hair. I was trusting the process because she's a really good hairdresser. Another thing to know is that hairdressers aren't gonna always do the picture the exact way you want it because they have their own interpretation. I mean, I feel like that's with everyone though. You have your own interpretation of what you see based on what you know and that sort of thing. And she was kind of like a blonde dominated hairdresser. Like, she always did blonde hair. After the 3 hours passed and she showed me my hair, I look in the mirror. I was blonde, guys. So I was just like, oh god, this is so bad. This is so bad. I don't want to be blonde. Blonde looks good on people, but I'm a brunette. So when this happened, I was like, oh god, I just bleached my hair. And also, I'm a huge freak about hair health. I use so many different things like sprays and I take vitamins and all the stuff for my hair because I want it to be super, super healthy. And now that I just bleached it, I was like, oh gosh, I'm blonde. This is killing my hair. So I was just like, oh, thank you so much. She was like, do you like it? And I was like, yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. I hate that type of confrontation. It's just so bad to tell the truth and be like, no, I don't like the hair you just spent 3 hours doing on me. Like, it's just such an awkward thing to say, right? So I got home about to cry to my mom. I was like, I didn't want this color. This is so bad. So he's showing me how to make a tree right now, but this is giving me immense flashbacks to Lumber Tycoon 2 because the trees look just like this. And I remember chopping them down and the little branches would come off and they look like little parts like this. The rush of nostalgia. Please tell me someone played Lumber Tycoon and understands. My mom called her up and she was like, hey, my daughter doesn't like this hair. Can you fix it? She was like, yeah, I'll fix it tomorrow. Dude, I was trying to adjust to it. I think I'm just so used to being brunette and having natural hair color and natural hair features, which is why I went with the inspo picture because I felt like it was subtle. But I mean, compared to everyone else, they're probably gonna say, no, well, that's not subtle, but whatever. So I went back the next day and she got this lighter brunette. And I thought like this was gonna go back all the way dark because I literally told her, I was like, I just want to go back to my normal color. Like, just reverse it back, please. So she does it and it was this really light brown. And then after this happened, I ended up having caramel highlights where I just felt like my hair looked really orange and I was like, oh god, this is even worse. Like, this is so bad. And I didn't want to tell her again, you messed up my hair again, I don't like it, because this already happened twice. And I just felt I don't like that type of confrontation, right? So I left and I was face palming. I was like, please be honest, mom, does it look bad? And she was like, no, it looks good, but I don't know. And I was just face palming, like I was about to lose it. So my mom realized that I was not happy. So she's like, let's just go to the store and buy brown hair dye. So we went to the store and we bought brown salon dye. So not the box dye, because box dye is apparently really bad for you. So we bought the salon dye and then we did it at home. And after I showered and stuff and like got it all out, I was like, okay, it's almost back to normal. It was still really light brown, but it wasn't orange and it wasn't blonde anymore. I was like, you know what, this is fine for now. I'm just glad I'm not blonde. Because when I was blonde, I felt like my face compared to the hair color, like it's just unproportioned, right? Because some colors just don't look good on your face. It just like washes you out. I felt like I was getting washed out. So once I did all that, I was like, okay, that's 3 times of dyeing it in the past 2 days. Like, I gotta stop because otherwise I'm gonna kill my hair. And I like to keep my hair long, so that's not good if you're trying to keep your hair long. Hair dye damages are really bad. So I was just like, oh gosh, how long do I have to wait to dye it again? Because I just want to go back to my natural color. And I regret it so much now because I just murdered my hair and its health just to dye it back all the way normal because the original color I wanted did not happen. And yeah, you know those TikToks where like, this is what I wanted versus this is what I got? That's what happened. And I have just realized that I'm never dyeing my hair again. And I've just been recently having a revelation the past few days, like this is gonna take so long to grow out and my hair is cooked. I think hair takes such a long time to grow, like probably a whole year before I'm gonna get my whole natural hair color back. I'm gonna try to dye it again soon. I have to wait, but I'm just gonna dye it back to the regular color if I can find it. It was so stressful. I was actually losing it. Like, I was dying. So a few videos ago in my starter house renovation, a lot of people liked when I talked about architecture and how I got into it, and a lot of comments were asking about what architecture school is about and what happens and stuff and just what classes I take. So I'm gonna try to answer this in the most complete response as I can and tell you about my 2 years so far as an architecture student. So when I first entered college, before you can kind of get into your core classes for whatever your major is, you have to fulfill your college requirements. So there's certain random classes you have to take just to complete, the knowledge they want you to have. So this can just be random stuff where for us, there's like history, diversity, you need a certain math, you need to take a lab. So I took psychology, I took natural disasters and sciences, just super random classes just to fulfill the requirements. And I actually really like psychology. That class was super interesting and it kind of just gives you a better understanding of who you are as a person. Once you complete all those classes, so I've been just taking them sporadically through the school year. They do that so you try out random classes to see if you want to change your major, make sure you're in the right thing. So I took this one class about Greek gods and Greek mythology, and it was actually really interesting. I will say I'm a bit of a history geek, so you might not like it, but I took a lot of history classes just to fulfill random requirements. So usually you have 5 classes a semester, and then usually 2 or 3 of them are for your actual major, and then the other 2 or 3 is for just random stuff. So my first semester I took this class called Intro to Urban Planning. Urban planning is basically the study about people, like town planning, city planning, just planning cities, making them more sustainable, accessible, etc. So this class basically went through the history of different famous architects and different planners that built things. For example, the Eiffel Tower, which if you didn't know, the Eiffel Tower was just built to be an attraction at the World Fair. It wasn't actually supposed to be a permanent landmark. So if you have noticed, in the US we have roads and everything's straight. We have highways, where in France they have boulevards and everything's circular and things just kind of intersect with each other, that sort of thing. That's probably a really bad explanation, but you basically study and analyze the different layouts of cities. We also studied how people used to live in the city and then eventually everyone moved to the suburbs, which is called suburban sprawl. And that was after the war and the baby boom, blah, blah, blah. They basically just get you through the history of how things happen and how people got into these places and the start of motor vehicles, etc. So you just learn the way of life in the city design and how things just happen. And then during that same semester, I took architectural sketching and design. This class was super long. It was 3 hours long, which I hate being somewhere for 3 hours long in one sitting, like not being able to get up and stuff. But in college, they do give you breaks in between. So usually halfway through, they say, okay, you have 10 minutes, go do whatever you want. And technically, you could just leave and do whatever. But in this class specifically, every week we would usually travel to a part of the city in our area and we would study the architecture and then we would sketch the buildings and the designs just to, warm up into sketching things. And then during class, because it was kind of like we would do class and then travel somewhere else, we would try to draw 3D objects and see the study of light in homes and just different spaces, that sort of thing. We also drew layouts and then we kind of learned about AI generation. It was funny, our teacher made us join this Discord and I didn't want to use my actual FrenchRxses Discord, so I made another account just for this class and we just used this AI bot to generate houses and stuff with certain prompts. So that was pretty cool. That class was fun, but it was really annoying also because it was at nighttime, so it was from 6 to 9 p.m. So it was just super out of the way. And in the mornings, I did have other classes from 9 to 2. So it was just kind of going back and forth a lot. But it was a good class. I definitely learned a lot from it. I'm literally looking up my schedule right now in my camera roll to see which classes I took because I don't remember the exact names. They all are just like 3-letter names with random numbers. The next semester, I ended up taking one class online because it was required, which is really weird. Some of the classes they'll require you to take, they're only online, so you have to watch a bunch of movies and videos about, the study of architecture and just certain things. Then you take quizzes and write essays about it, which I didn't realize. Architecture specifically, before you start doing work on the computer in those programs, you write a lot of papers. But maybe that's just urban planning specifically, but we write so many papers just analyzing certain things. So for this one class I took online, every week we'd watch a movie, a documentary, and it was kind of about how architecture forms society and all these certain things. For example, I'm going to tell you a concept. So if you ever take architecture, you'll definitely learn about this, but there was this architect called Jane Jacobs and she taught about street ballet, and it basically talks about how when you live close to other people, for example, take New York City, when people live in those apartments and they're super close together, it gives you this opportunity to interact with people. And this also applies to other things. For example, not having a car and just being in a walkable area, it just allows you to be interacting with other people. So say you're walking outside to your job, you walk past people people, you say hello. Another example of this is, say you're walking by someone and you accidentally trip and fall. Really bad example, but then you guys start talking, blah, blah, street ballet. And that wouldn't have happened if you were in a car or if you live super far away, which now in our society, this happens a lot. We all have cars. We all live in these really big neighborhoods. Well, in the US, all our neighborhoods are pretty spread out, so there's not really any interaction. I mean, for me, I literally have lived next to my neighbors for so many years, and I don't think I've ever had an interaction with them because I just never see them. We just get in our cars and leave. So it's that sort of thing. So street ballet is just things happening naturally because of how close in proximity you are. So if you want to get into architecture, you already know stuff now. And then another class I took was called urban sociology. This class is basically about the study of where you live and how this affects your resources and all this stuff. So if you don't know what spatial inequality is, I'll give you an example. So say you live in a really rich neighborhood and you pay taxes. So no matter where you live, you pay property tax. And usually in rich neighborhoods, it's a lot higher just because you're paying for a good location. And because your taxes are higher, you're paying more money, and this money goes to schools, hospitals, blah, blah, blah. So the richer the neighborhood, the better the schools are, the better the resources, etc., which therefore means you're gonna get a better education, better healthcare. And if you lived in a poor neighborhood, this means you're gonna have worse education, worse healthcare, less access to certain things, which creates this inequality. It's kind of really unfair because, you know, as a kid, that's out of your control. You don't control who your parents are. You don't control how much money they make. So it just creates this huge divide. So it was kind of just studying that. And in that class specifically, we had to travel out to certain areas and study census tracts, which basically where you live in the US, again, this is just me speaking from a United States perspective. You probably live in a specific city or county, and depending on that, you can see what the average amount of education that person gets in that area. So if it's like high school graduate, college graduate, etc. This stuff's all online. And it was really cool because, you know, you could drive 10 minutes from one place that has an amazing healthcare, amazing education, very high average salary, and then be somewhere completely different, and it's just a huge drastic change. So it was very interesting. And I think the thing I like about these classes specifically is you do have to go out and do stuff. So I feel very hands-on. And this kind of just makes me learn because I'm a very visual learner. So seeing examples applied in real life and then seeing analytics and statistics followed by it is so cool. And I will say in a lot of these classes, it's very lecture heavy. So for the 2 hours of this class, the teacher's just lecturing. And the good thing about college that I love is they don't cold call you for questions, or they don't ask you to raise your hand like they do in high school and middle school. They just talk the entire time. And if someone does want to answer a question, they just raise their hand, but they won't call on you because these are in really big lectures. So there's 500 people. I love that because as a half introvert, I would say I don't want to be called and I don't want to answer questions in class. And then this year specifically, I took this one class and it was a class for graduate students, but you could also take it as an undergraduate. So I took it as an undergraduate. So it was called Global Issues in Design Practice. And it was kind of discussing the errors in specific architecture buildings and why they didn't succeed and why some got taken down, what failed, and, you know, just analyzing certain iconic buildings. So that one was pretty cool. I did feel really weird. I felt out of the demographic. Everyone was way older than me. This one lady in front of me literally had a desktop screensaver of her kids, and then everyone had wedding rings, and I was just like, I feel so out of place. For a lot of these classes too, you get a lot of homework outside of class. So they'll just lecture and then be like, okay, you need to do a reflection about the lecture. Okay, you need to write an essay. And then our final project thing was a super, super long presentation. So I'm gonna just warn you as an architecture student, you do a lot of presentations, and I hate presenting, but because I've been doing it so often, I've kind of gotten over the fear of it. I still get really scared. My palms get sweaty and I get a little shaky, but it's all good. So we had to do a 40-slide presentation about a specific architecture company or group, and then we basically did like a whole analysis about their projects, their awards, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's pretty easy. And then I also did an online class, which was basically studying, it was about technology and cars. I can't really think of it off the top of my head, but it was basically another where we'd watch a lecture and then write a paper about it. All the online classes are pretty much laid out the same. You literally just watch a video, write a paper. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people cheat. I usually take 4 classes in person and then 1 class online just to lighten up my day because I want time to be able to edit and do YouTube and stuff. So being able to do stuff online is nice just because I'll be in my own home. I don't like doing homework on my laptop. I prefer doing it on my actual PC because I have the 2 monitors. And I'm telling you, dude, if you get 2 monitors, you will never get used to using one screen again. I just love multitasking. On one screen, I can have my Google Docs open, and then on my other screen, I can have the article open, which I'm, you know, sourcing and doing stuff on. So it's just so helpful, and it's so nice. And whenever I use my Surface Pro, which is what I use for school, it's literally one screen, and I just get so annoyed switching the tabs. It's just so inconvenient. I think after this last semester, which it took me a total of 2 years, 4 semesters to finish all my prerequisites of random classes, I finally can take all architecture classes, which is amazing because I hate taking random classes. I want to feel indulged in my major. So the last 2 classes I took, one was called Public-Private Partnerships, and if you don't know what this is, it's basically companies and buildings, and you kind of learn the political side to their creation. So if you didn't know, most metro lines lines or train lines are either privately or publicly owned. And this basically means if it's publicly owned, it's owned by the government, and if it's privately owned, it's owned by a company. And usually they try to split it in half, so the private company will give the government money, and then the government will also put money in, and it's just how they work together to help operate a certain company, just something in general. And usually depending on what the partnership is, they have different responsibilities. So I did research on the Ottawa Light Rail, which is in Canada. I was researching the private part specifically because it was me and 2 other people. My friend did the public, and then my other friend, he did the citizenship part of it, because there's 3 different parts. So the private partnership, for example, has responsibilities like keeping up with the maintenance, overseeing the design and construction, financing it, so paying for everything. They have to make sure they're working in the public interest, and also communicating with the other parts of this partnership, so the government and the citizens around this. And the public part of this, their goal for this and responsibility was to increase the transit use, reduce traffic, connect the city, reduce gas emissions, just those sort of things. So, working in the public favor. And then, the public, they give their own opinion, which is by taking this light rail, experiencing it, reporting issues, that sort of thing. So it's just how everything goes hand in hand to make one specific company. This light rail specifically, there was a lot of issues. A literal sinkhole opened near the site of this station, so that was crazy. And then another time a wheel on the train left the track. Anyway, I won't bore you on the random stuff. It's cool. You just learn a lot about the government and real estate and how things work, because it is so messy. If you've ever noticed why construction takes so long, it's just because there's so many random factors and things you have to get approved, which is so dumb in my opinion. Like, why do we have to do all that? That's just how the government is. And then I took another one called Health in Relation to Urban Environments, and this was basically about accessibility to certain things, which, for example, just think of your grocery store at home. How far away is that from you in your car, biking, walking, or taking public transit? And where I live, the closest grocery store to me is a 7-minute drive, but if you don't have a car, that's a good hour bike ride, an even longer walk. And we don't have public transit in my area, so that just leaves the accessibility super low. If the closest thing to you is something like 7-Eleven or just unhealthy food, that's usually where you're gonna go because it's just close to you, which means you're not gonna eat healthy. So just the accessibility of where it is in relation to you is really important. Those are most of the classes I've taken so far, and in general, I really love learning about all these. I get so into it. As you could tell, I'm talking about it in a YouTube video. I hope that answered some of your questions about some of the classes I've taken as an architecture student. I don't think architecture school is hard. The thing you gotta know though is you gotta do your homework right away. Don't put it off, because these projects they assign you 3 months in advance is because you're gonna need those 3 months to do the project. And a lot of people don't realize that, because I've had to work in groups with people and they just don't do it and they procrastinate, and it's just so annoying. You really can't slack off in college. Just do your work, focus. Depending on your major, some people will go and party all weekend long, but most engineering students in architecture, we will stay home and do our homework. So I think if you want to go for architecture, absolutely do it. And if you didn't watch my video renovating the starter home, I talked a lot more about just how I got into architecture. So if you have any other questions though, ask in the comments. It is time for the house reveal. I'm so excited to show you guys. Let's get straight into this. I'm gonna go into Shift B so you can get the full effect. OMG. I mean, I know I've seen it all the way through since I've been building it, but this is on my plot. Like, what? I was a part of making this. What? Cosmic literally did like everything. I'm gonna be so for real. See these little stones? That was me. But this entire pool structuring was Cosmic. He did the most amazing job. I'm so glad he asked me to help him build this house, because this is literally a highlight of my Bloxburg career. I'm putting this on my resume. So let me first just take you around the trees and the gardening. I think the gardening itself costed around 500 to 700K, just because some of the trees, these palm trees, I don't remember the cost of these, but this tree right here was 100K. And there's a few of them around the plot, so it was just so expensive. But I mean, the turnout of the house is insane, so I would say it was worth it. So anyway, let's just start at the beginning. So as you enter, we have the big beautiful pool, and we did line it with decals all the way through. There's decals on the wall and on the floor to kind of mimic that Mediterranean style design, because we wanted to keep it really accurate to the picture. And this entire area is fenced off with this bush, and then these are decals to also cover to give more privacy. All the huge trees just add so much to the build. It's insane. But since this has a pool, we need a nice sitting area, so we have this elevated deck sort of thing with beach lounge chairs and umbrellas. And then there are a few little decal flower accents that are pink and stuff, just to add a pop of color into the house. Here's my little stone path to connect the house to the big villa. I don't know if this is considered a mansion, a villa. It's just insane. I'm genuinely speechless. I don't even know what to commentate about it because there's just so much to take in. We'll just start over here. So this is a separate living room area, just so if you want to hang out outside, get a nice view of the pool over here, you can. And these are both custom chairs that Cosmic made. They're made with basic shapes, and he also made this custom fireplace. This is all basic shapes, just custom. And we have bookshelves, which are also custom. I don't even know why I'm saying custom. Everything's custom, guys. Up here I did structural to add some dimension into the build. The color scheme of this room is so cute. It's got little pink hues and green to match just the outside gardening. We found this decal carpet and it was perfect because it matches the plant right here. When we started building this in January compared to now, I've just picked up so many building tactics and stuff just from building this, but it was definitely because Cosmic showed me a lot of tips and tricks, so thank you, Cosmic. And then here's another gardening spot with the very expensive tree, but the other trees are also like 50k. They were so much just because of the decals, which I think decals should be cheaper. And then we have this overhead, I was about to say deck, but that's not a deck, awning. And of course it's got string lights. This kind of gives House in the Hamptons type of vibe, but Mediterranean style. Here are some custom doors, which are insane. They look so realistic. I'm gonna be so out of order in this video, but also the custom door, custom balcony, these are all decals. But anyway, let's take you through the front. So say you were actually entering this house. There's multiple entrances, as you can see by the doors, and these are just decals, so like you can just walk through it. As you first enter, you get the view of this entryway staircase, which you probably saw me building in the video. I wanted to add a lot of colors that were similar to outside, just so it was a very nice transition. And we have a lot of green, earthy tones, a lot of browns, different shades. And then I did build this custom light fixture design, which was, I think it was structural and basic shapes, and it looks really cool. It's like a double framed sort of thing. I rediscovered these. I think they're called wood coasters, but you can resize them and they look really cute as space fillers. And then over here is a sitting area if you want to sit and read a book by the fire. We wanted it to look very cozy and botanical too, so that's why there's so many plants and a lot of different artwork of nature and stuff to also add to the theme. And this light fixture is also custom too. Cosmic made this with basic shapes. Here's the kitchen, more of the green theme in here with more custom light fixtures because that's what we do in this build, all custom. We really filled it up with decor just because, you know, we wanted it to look lived in, not like a house that's staged, so that's why there's a lot of things everywhere. It's just so pretty. Oh my gosh. I love this color scheme. It's definitely out of my comfort zone, but it works so well. And then here is the dining room with, I'm gonna say it again, custom lighting. Check it out. Look how cute that is. And we have this beautiful dining table. This is a decal for the storage thing, which came in clutch because it just makes it look so much more fancier. I believe this is custom too, this custom lighting. And if you notice on a lot of the walls, we have this stone decal and it basically fades. We kind of scattered it all around the build just so it looks like natural wear and tear in the house. This is a good example here. So if you're looking to add detail into your house without, you know, putting actual stuff, you can just use this stone type of decal and it just adds a lot of character to your home. And then out here's the backyard, which we weren't originally going to do a backyard. I was like, you know what, just leave the back ugly and flat because nobody's going to see it. But Cosmic still did a back. This was all him and it looks amazing. We have this chimney design, a beautiful fountain, and this roof. Let me just show you the top of the roof, right? We did structural all across the entire roof. This took so long, but in the end it was worth it because it just added so much detail, like insane. It looks so good. It was definitely tedious, but the payoff was definitely worth it. I mean, next to these palm trees, it just looks so good. Now let's go upstairs. So this is a 2-bedroom upstairs, and up here in the open area, we just have a cute little carpet and then some pictures in a mirror just to keep it very simple. And then here's more of the weathered stone look. And then here's bedroom number 1. Originally, I did this plank design because as you can kind of tell, these basic shapes are kind of uneven. So I did the planks. So this way it would take your eyes off of it. And I think I did a pretty good job. It looks pretty blended in now. And then we have custom chairs. Just a pretty simple bedroom design. You know, I wanted to go more woodsy with this one as a little tribute to the palm trees outside. So a lot of green and brown and then just florals everywhere. And this custom pillow I found was perfect for this build just because the pattern matches perfectly with the color scheme. Here is the second bedroom. We did more of a girly pink vibe in here. So this is more of like the floral aspect. If you notice outside, we had pink flowers. Right here, we had pink flowers. So this room was basically the accent. I did this accent wall with the decals and it does have a balcony. These are all usable things. Like you can actually go on the balcony and stuff, which is very, very cool. And then just a lot of space filler stuff in here. I mean, we kept a lot of the bedrooms simple just because I feel like the house itself is just the statement. So we didn't need to do too much detailing. Here's the office with another accent wall with this really cool tile. It worked perfectly with the build. It just reminds me of this tile down here in the pool. It just tied in very well. Just a lot of random space filler stuff in here to make it look lived in. And I just love the carpet with the florals. It just adds perfectly to the house. And we have the custom lights again. We also have a custom chair. This is made by Cosmic. It looks so good. I'm trying to get a good angle of it, but you get the idea. It's so cool. The custom doors, insane. And then over here is the custom bathroom. The shower design and everything just looks so realistic. realistic based on the tile and the color scheme, and this looks so like a real life house. It's a perfect Mediterranean bathroom. I'm just at a loss for words. I literally can't believe this is on my plot. I definitely want to try building in this color scheme again because it just turned out so amazing. Look at the house with the lighting. It's just so perfect. This is a prime house to get adopted in. The value of this house is 2.7 million, so it is a little hefty, but for what we got out of it, I think it's definitely worth it. I blame all the decals because decals are so much money. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts about this build in the comments. Make sure to follow CosmicXVelvet on all his social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. He's a fantastic builder and he deserves all the love. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week. I hope you like the build. All right, bye guys.
You know you love me. XOXO.
French Roses Girl.